How's it going, Spider Peeps? It is the internet's most unknown political spider here. On the docket today is the second installment of my Rantisode series, where I kind of just unscripted say a few things that have been on my mind and see if anybody else is kind of jiving with it. The topic I want to cover today has to do mostly with the validity of opinions. One could ask the question, what do I mean by a valid opinion? And a valid opinion would be an opinion that is reasonable to hold given the evidence or arguments being put forth. There are positions that you're not able to hold on a particular subject that are logical. So not all moves that you could make, at least in terms of forming an opinion, are not possible in logical space. So you could hold those opinions, but they have no bearing in reality. And if what I'm saying about logical space is too abstract and I'm losing you, I'll give you an example to better demonstrate my point. Take chess, for example. There are many different pieces, but if you're not aware, in chess, there is a piece called a rook. And the rook can move any number of spaces vertically, that is forward, or horizontally, that is to be from side to side. That would be like trying to play chess while also adhering to the rules, and instead of moving a rook from side to side or forward any number of spaces, you try to move it diagonally. Now, anyone that is trying to play chess adhering to the rules would immediately stop you and say that it's an invalid move, and I don't know what they would do, but they would call out that invalid move because it's not one that you can make given the way that you play chess. To give another example, and this has more to do with a valid opinion being one that has adherence in the world that we live in. Let's say that I meet somebody named Brock, and Brock walks up to me on a sunny day and says, "Hey, Arachnoid, I feel like it's raining outside." They can say that they feel like it's raining outside, but if one looks up at the sky and knows what the weather is, there's no way that I'm going to believe Brock when they say that they feel like it's raining, because there's no evidence in the material world to show that what they just said actually makes any sense. I've been thinking about this for quite some time. I think it would be advantageous to discuss it, because when it comes to talking about opinions, and even in political discourse, there seems to be a complete stop when someone mentions, "Oh, well, that's my opinion." The political sphere specifically, there's this false dichotomy out there that the left's ideas and the right's ideas need to be fully respected because they're opinions. You've heard it all the time when you've had a conversation and you've reached a heated point in the conversation that you're having, and the person flaring decides to say, "Well, that's just my opinion." It seems to me that there's a sort of shield that goes up whenever we mention the word opinion. That doesn't mean that every opinion is created equally. Not every single opinion that you have deserves to have equal weight or to be thought about equally. When it comes to things within politics, I think that it needs to be more normalized. The idea that not all opinions are created equal. Not every opinion needs as much consideration, because if it doesn't have any basis in fact, if it doesn't have any basis in logic, if it isn't a good argument to be had, and if it's entirely false and doesn't even bring anything to light, why would there need to be notion of I have to treat this opinion equally and reflect on it equally, when really that opinion doesn't have anything that it brings to the table that would meaningfully move the discourse, or at least make you think twice. I think it's important for us to be able to create a more productive political discourse is to be able to point out when an opinion is wrong, unfactual, is based in absolutely nothing, because that's a dogma. And one thing that no discipline needs but ends up having, which can set things back in terms of progress, or at least with the exchange of ideas, is a dogma. I don't like the common notion of, well, that's just my opinion, and because it's my opinion, you have to give it equal respect, equal time, when really there are opinions that are based in fact, that are based in more solid facts. And there's a spectrum to when it comes to the validity of your opinion. While I think you do have the right to hold an opinion that you want to hold, that doesn't mean that your opinion is more worthwhile than one that has more data on its side, has had more attention paid to it in terms of the academic disciplines. If you don't have anything to point to in the world with your opinion, it's almost completely imaginary. And while I will respect you as a human being, I don't have to respect your idea if all you're presenting to me is something that you've concocted in your own head, and that there's nothing to look to in terms of empirical data, in terms of human emotion, in terms of logic. Because if there's nothing for me to bite into, while I'll at least think it through the best that it needs to be thought through, that doesn't mean that I'm going to give it equal attention or equal weight. And I think it's time that we call out the bad opinions, that we make sure that we tell people that yes, you have full right to have your opinion, but this opinion is absolutely ludicrous. And one way that we can forward the political discourse is by thinking of opinions not in terms of, well, this is the opinion that I hold. Because I have this opinion, it needs to be respected. Every opinion should be examined and criticized, because without examination and criticism, the opinions and the ideas that we have can't really grow any further. When it comes to political discussions, this mainstream notion, and you see it mostly in the mainstream media more than you see in other outlets, I think, is that an opinion on the right and the left does not deserve equal time. It depends what that idea says, what backing there is for that idea. I think that when it comes to politics, you need to look at each individual opinion and decide whether or not there's anything that gives it substantial backing to make it valid. Not all opinions are created equal, folks. When it comes to global warming, you have the overwhelming scientist consensus, you have the climate data. You may differ on the solutions to that, but when it comes to denying the reality of man-made climate change, you can do so. You can hold that opinion, but it's not a very worthwhile opinion, not one you can back up, and one that's not valid, meaning that one opinion is more valuable, is more explanatory than the other. No matter where the opinion's coming from, I don't think you should give each opinion equal weight. An opinion is only worth as much as it brings to the table. If it's coming up to the dinner table with a toothpick, I can't really chew on that idea very much. When it comes to addressing political opinions specifically, or just any other opinion, do the best you can to see the idea for the idea and not attack the person. And that doesn't mean every opinion deserves equal respect. For an issue like global warming and a lot of environmental science, if you're just going to straight out deny something that has so much data, studies, and so many things behind it, I think all you do when you spout an unbacked opinion is poison the discourse, or at least set it back. I think that needs to be called out to the fullest extent that we're able to do. I'll put it like this: hold any opinion you want. It can be as silly and as ridiculous as you want it to be, but I'm going to tell you it's a silly and ridiculous opinion. You can have any opinion you want, but doesn't mean I have to fucking like it. Anyway, I think that's all I really have to say on that topic for this week. I hope you enjoyed the rant-isode. I will see you in the next spider web, and I hope